Welcome to True Crime Pulse, where we delve into some of the most compelling and shocking crime cases. Leah Brewster was a 40-year-old woman renowned for her creativity and kind-hearted nature. Residing in a cozy home in a friendly Austin, Texas neighborhood, Leah was an accomplished interior designer. She transformed homes and businesses with her keen eye for detail and her artistic flair. A graduate of the University of Texas at Austin with a degree in interior design, Leah was an active member of the university's Student Art Society. Leah's talents extended far beyond her professional life. She was known for her compassion, frequently volunteering at local shelters, such as the Austin Animal Center, and spearheading various community events. Notably, Leah played a key role in organizing the annual spring fair at the local park, where families would gather to enjoy food, games, and live music. Her friends regarded her as the heart of their group, always the one to arrange get-togethers and ensure everyone felt welcome. Leah and her close-knit circle of friends often met for brunch at local spots, including the popular Kirby Lane Cafe. At home, Leah was a devoted wife and mother. She was married to Bobby Dean Brewster, an accountant, and together they had an 18-year-old son, Caleb. Leah and Caleb shared a particularly strong bond, spending weekends hiking through the Barton Creek Greenbelt or enjoying Marvel movie marathons together. In the days leading up to her death, Leah was busy yet excited. She was organizing a large fundraiser for the local homeless shelter, dedicating many hours to designing posters and flyers for the event. She even secured the support of Q Deeks, a local radio station, to promote the fundraiser. Leah's professional ambitions were also expanding. She was in discussions with Austin Monthly magazine about featuring her design work, a significant step forward for her business. Her future seemed bright, filled with potential and excitement. Known for her warm and generous nature, Leah was the type of person who would go out of her way to help a friend or make a stranger feel welcome. To those around her, Leah was a selfless and loving individual who always placed others before herself. Tragically, Leah's promising life was cut short, leaving a profound void in the hearts of her family and friends. On the morning of March 12, 2018, the usually quiet neighborhood of Austin, Texas, was shaken by a horrifying discovery. At approximately 8:30 a.m., Leah's neighbor, Liesl Gonzalez-Chan, arrived at Leah's house to deliver homemade tamales. Leah and Liesl often exchanged baked goods and shared morning coffee, so this was not an unusual visit. However, upon reaching Leah's front door, Liesl noticed it was slightly ajar. Initially thinking little of it, she knocked and called out Leah's name, but there was no response. Concerned, Liesl stepped inside, making her way through the hallway while continuing to call for Leah. As she entered the kitchen, Liesl was confronted with a scene that would haunt her forever. Leah was lying on the floor in a pool of blood, motionless. The kitchen, usually spotless and filled with the smell of Leah's cooking, was in complete disarray. Liesl froze in shock, her mind struggling to process the scene in front of her. After a few moments, Liesl snapped out of her daze and fumbled for her phone. Her hands trembled as she dialed 911. The operator, sensing her distress, tried to calm her down and asked her to describe what she saw. Liesl's voice shook as she explained that her friend was lying on the kitchen floor and wasn't moving. The operator assured her that help was on the way and instructed her to wait outside until the police arrived. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air and 2 police cars pulled up to the house. Officers quickly secured the area and entered the home. Liesl, still in a state of shock, was gently led away by a kind officer who asked her to sit down and take deep breaths. She was offered a blanket and a bottle of water as she tried to calm down. As news of the discovery spread, neighbors gathered outside, whispering and speculating about what had happened. The local news station Kaksan soon arrived and reporters began setting up their cameras. The neighborhood was buzzing with fear and curiosity, as everyone wondered how such a tragedy could occur in their peaceful community. Leah Brewster's body was carefully examined by the first responders. They confirmed she had been stabbed multiple times with a kitchen knife, which lay beside her. The brutality of the crime shocked everyone present. Liesl, still trying to comprehend the horror she had witnessed, provided a statement to the police. She described Leah as a wonderful person and expressed her disbelief that something so terrible could happen to someone so kind and loving. In the following hours, forensic teams arrived to start their investigation, marking the beginning of a long and complex case that would uncover dark secrets and hidden motives. The police arrived quickly at Leah Brewster's house on the morning of March 12, 2018, after Liesl Benzalakan's frantic 911 call. Officers Joseph Costella and Ethiel Rivera were the first on the scene. Arriving within minutes, they were experienced detectives with the Austin Police Department, known for their dedication and sharp investigative skills. As the officers entered the house, they were struck by the chaotic scene in the kitchen. The normally tidy room was in complete disarray, with broken dishes on the floor and blood splattered across the counters and walls. Leah Brewster lay on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood, with a kitchen knife nearby. It was clear that she had been stabbed multiple times, and the brutality of the attack was evident. Detective Costella, a tall man with a stern expression, immediately began assessing the scene, while Detective Rivera, known for her keen attention to detail, started documenting everything with her camera. They carefully examined the area around Leah's body, noting the signs of a struggle. The kitchen table was overturned, and a chair was broken, indicating that Leah had fought hard against her attacker. The detectives called in the forensic team, who arrived shortly after. The team used advanced tools to gather evidence, including swabs for DNA, fingerprint dusting kits, and high-resolution cameras to capture every detail. They meticulously collected samples of blood and other potential evidence, hoping to find clues that would lead them to the murderer. Detective Rivera noticed a set of muddy footprints leading from the back door into the kitchen. She pointed this out to the forensic team, who took detailed photographs and measurements. The footprints suggested that the killer had entered the house through the back, possibly trying to avoid detection. Detectives Costella and Rivera continued to work late into the night, reviewing the evidence and planning their next steps. They knew that solving Leah's murder would require thorough investigation and attention to every detail. The scene in Leah Brewster's kitchen was a puzzle they were determined to solve, piece by piece, to bring justice for Leah and her grieving family. The first suspect in the investigation was Caleb Brewster, Leah and Bobby Dean's 18-year-old son. Caleb was a high school senior with a bright future ahead of him. He was a popular student at Austin High School, known for his talent in basketball and his ambition to study engineering in college. His teachers spoke highly of his intelligence and dedication, and he had already received several scholarship offers. Caleb had a complicated relationship with his father but was very close to his mother. Leah was his biggest supporter, attending all his basketball games and helping him with college applications. However, there was a secret Caleb had been hiding. He was involved in a sexual relationship with this high school English teacher, Laura McMasters. Leah had just recently discovered this relationship before her death, which caused tension in the household. When detectives Joseph Costella and Ethiel Rivera brought Caleb in for questioning, he appeared nervous but cooperative. He admitted to the relationship with Laura McMasters, explaining that they had grown close over the past year. He described Laura as supportive and understanding, someone he could confide in about his struggles at home and school. The detectives asked Caleb about the night of his mother's murder. He claimed he was at a friend's house studying for an upcoming exam. His friend, Jason Kim, confirmed Caleb's alibi, saying they had been working on a physics project together until late in the evening. However, the detectives were not entirely convinced and continued to press Caleb for more details. Caleb's nervousness grew as the interrogation continued. Detective Rivera, known for her empathetic approach, asked Caleb about his feelings towards his parents, especially after Leah discovered his sexual relationship with Laura. Caleb admitted that his mother's reaction had been harsh, and they had argued about it. He felt guilty for causing his mother distress, but insisted he had no reason to harm her. The police found explicit text messages on Caleb's phone between him and Laura McMasters discussing their sexual relationship and Leah's disapproval. The messages revealed a deep bond between them and their fears about the future. Caleb expressed his frustration with his parents, but never hinted at any violent intentions. Despite his alibi, the police considered Caleb a person of interest. His sexual relationship with Laura McMasters and the tension at home provided potential motives. The detectives decided to keep a close eye on Caleb, reviewing his social media and phone records for any additional clues. Caleb's friends and teachers were shocked to hear about the investigation, described him as a bright, ambitious young man with a promising future. The community couldn't believe that someone like Caleb could be involved in such a tragic event. The detectives, however, knew that appearances could be deceiving and continued to scrutinize every aspect of Caleb's life for answers. The second suspect in Leah Brewster's murder investigation was her husband, Bobby Dean Brewster. At 45 years old, Bobby Dean was known for his meticulous and highly organized nature. He worked as an accountant at a well-known local firm, and his colleagues described him as dependable but somewhat reserved. Bobby Dean was perceived as a dedicated family man, though his quiet demeanor often made him seem distant. During the interrogation, Bobby Dean was initially calm and cooperative. He provided a detailed account of his activities on the night of Leah's murder. He claimed he had been at home, watching a basketball game on ESPN, and then going to bed early. However, his calmness began to waver as detectives pressed him on his relationship with Leah. The detectives, Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera, noticed signs of strain in Bobby Dean's demeanor when they mentioned Leah's recent discovery of Caleb's secret relationship with his high school English teacher, Laura McMasters. Bobby Dean shifted in his seat and his responses became more defensive. He admitted that the news had caused tension in the family, but he insisted that he had nothing to do with Leah's death. As the questioning continued, it was revealed that Leah had also discovered something else that could serve as a motive. Leah had found out about Bobby Dean's own affair with Laura McMasters. This revelation had caused a significant rift between Leah and Bobby Dean. Leah's diary entries, which the police found, detailed her heartbreak and anger over her husband's betrayal. Bobby Dean's short temper was another point of interest for the investigators. Friends and family members noted that while he was usually composed, he could become very angry when provoked. Detectives Costella and Rivera questioned Bobby Dean about his temper and whether it had ever led to violence. Bobby Dean denied ever hurting Leah, but the detectives were not convinced. To gather more information, the police interviewed Bobby Dean's co-workers and neighbors. They described him as a man who kept to himself and rarely socialized. Some co-workers mentioned noticing changes in his behavior in the weeks leading up to Leah's murder. He seemed more stressed and distracted at work, often making mistakes in his otherwise flawless accounting records. Despite Bobby Dean's insistence on his innocence, the detectives felt they had enough reason to keep him under close watch. They continued to dig into his background, looking for any additional evidence that could link him to the crime. As the investigation unfolded, Bobby Dean remained a key suspect, his calm exterior masking the potential for deeper, darker motives. As the investigation continued, the police's thorough interrogation and evidence-gathering process aimed to uncover the truth behind Leah Brewster's tragic death, and Bobby Dean's actions and responses during the investigation only intensified their suspicions about the murder, made the case more difficult to solve. The third suspect in the investigation was Laura McMasters, a 55-year-old high school English teacher at Caleb's high school. Laura was well-liked by her students and colleagues, known for her passion for literature and her dedication to helping students succeed. She often stayed late to assist with assignments and had a reputation for being empathetic and approachable. Laura's involvement with Caleb Brewster came to light during the investigation. Their relationship was quite the scandal given their age difference and her position as his teacher in school. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera brought Laura in for questioning at the Austin Police Department. Laura arrived looking composed but clearly nervous about the situation. During the interrogation, Laura admitted to the sexual relationship with Caleb, saying it was consensual and mutual despite the age gap. She explained that it had started innocently, with her offering extra help after school, but had quickly developed into something sexual. Laura described her connection with Caleb as beautiful, stating that she cared deeply for him and wanted to support him through his family struggles. The detectives pressed Laura about her whereabouts on the night of Leah Brewster's murder. Laura claimed she was at home grading papers and preparing lesson plans for the upcoming week. She had no alibi as she lived alone and there were no witnesses to corroborate her story. This raised suspicions and the detectives continued to probe. Laura's phone records showed numerous sexually explicit texts and naked pictures exchanged between her and Caleb, especially in the days leading up to Leah's death. The messages revealed their concerns about Leah discovering their relationship and the potential consequences. However, there was no direct evidence linking Laura to the murder. Detective Rivera, using her empathetic approach, asked Laura about her feelings towards Leah. Laura admitted that Leah's discovery of the relationship had caused significant tension. Leah had confronted Laura in her classroom, demanding she end the relationship with Caleb immediately. Laura described the confrontation as heated but insisted she had no intention of harming Leah or of ending the relationship. Despite her calm demeanor, the detectives sensed that Laura was hiding something. They searched her home, looking for any evidence that might connect her to the crime. They found nothing incriminating, but Laura remained a key suspect due to her close involvement with Caleb and the conflict with Leah. Laura's colleagues were shocked by the news. They described her as a dedicated and caring teacher, someone who went above and beyond for her students. The revelation of her sexual relationship with Caleb was hard for them to believe. and the idea that she could be involved in Leah's murder was even more difficult to grasp. As the investigation continued, Laura's life was turned upside down. The scrutiny from the police, the media, and the community weighed heavily on her. She maintained her innocence, cooperating with the authorities while trying to navigate the fallout from the scandal. The detectives kept Laura under close observation, searching for any slip-up or new evidence that could shed light on Leah Brewster's tragic death. On the afternoon of March 16, 2018, a breakthrough in the case came when new evidence was discovered. It was a warm, sunny day in Austin, and the police received a call from a local gardener who had been working in a nearby park, Zilker Metropolitan Park, when he stumbled upon a blood-stained glove hidden behind some bushes near the park's edge. He immediately contacted the Austin Police Department, and officers arrived at the scene within minutes. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera, who were leading the investigation, rushed to the park. They carefully retrieved the glove, making sure not to contaminate any potential evidence. The glove was sent to the forensic lab for analysis, and the area around the park was thoroughly searched for additional clues. The forensic team worked quickly, and the results came back later that evening. The blood on the glove matched Leah Brewster's, and there were traces of another substance inside the glove that could be DNA from the suspect. This discovery gave the detectives a renewed sense of urgency. They now had a tangible piece of evidence that could potentially link someone to the crime scene. Detective Rivera reviewed surveillance footage from around the park, hoping to spot anyone who might have been acting suspiciously on the day of Leah's murder. The footage revealed a figure wearing a dark hoodie walking hurriedly away from the park around the time the murder was believed to have occurred. The person's face was not clearly visible, but the footage provided a lead. Further analysis of the glove's DNA revealed it matched Bobby Dean Brewster. The detectives were now more convinced than ever that he was involved in his wife's murder. They decided to bring him in for further questioning, armed with this new piece of evidence. During the second interrogation, Bobby Dean's calm demeanor began to crack. When confronted with the DNA evidence, he became defensive and evasive. He couldn't provide a satisfactory explanation for how his DNA ended up in a blood-stained glove found near the crime scene. The detectives pressed him harder, and his story started to fall apart. Meanwhile, the forensic team continued to search for additional evidence. They discovered a partial fingerprint on the handle of the kitchen knife used in the murder. This fingerprint also matched Bobby Dean's, strengthening the case against him. The discovery of the glove and the matching DNA and fingerprint evidence were pivotal in the investigation. The detectives now had enough to move forward with their case against Bobby Dean. They continued to gather more evidence, preparing to make an arrest and bring justice for Leah Brewster. The new evidence brought a sense of relief to the community, who had been on edge since Leah's tragic death. On March 18, 2018, armed with crucial evidence, the police were ready to make their move. Bobby Dean Brewster, 45, an accountant by profession, had become their primary suspect. Known for his meticulous and organized nature, Bobby Dean's life seemed orderly from the outside, but inside he was battling jealousy and rage. The investigation revealed that Bobby Dean had discovered his son Caleb's secret relationship with Laura McMasters, the English teacher. This revelation angered him, but what infuriated him more was Leah's discovery of his own affair with Laura. Driven by jealousy and rage, Bobby Dean had initially planned to confront Caleb, his love rival. However, when Leah entered the room where he was waiting, his anger redirected toward her. In a moment of uncontrollable rage, he grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed Leah to death. Detectives Joseph Costella and Ithiel Rivera, who had been leading the investigation, arrived at Bobby Dean's office early that morning. They had an arrest warrant and the evidence needed to take him into custody. Bobby Dean was taken by surprise as the detectives entered his office and informed him of the charges. His calm exterior shattered, and he became visibly agitated. Bobby Dean was handcuffed and escorted out of his office, past shocked colleagues. His arrest made headlines, with local news stations covering the story. The community was stunned, and the news spread quickly through social media. Leah's family had mixed emotions about Bobby Dean's arrest. They were relieved that the person responsible for Leah's death was caught, but they were also devastated that it was someone so close to them. Leah's sister, Samantha, expressed her sorrow and anger in an interview, stating that she felt betrayed by Bobby Dean, whom she had trusted. As Bobby Dean was led away by the police, his reaction was a mix of shock and resignation. He didn't resist the arrest, knowing the weight of the evidence against him. The detectives took him to the Austin Police Department for booking, where he was processed and placed in a holding cell. The evidence, including the blood-stained glove with Bobby Dean's DNA, the surveillance footage, and the partial fingerprint on the knife, were crucial in solving the case. The detectives' relentless pursuit of justice ensured that Leah Brewster's killer was held accountable. The arrest marked a significant step towards justice for Leah's family, providing them with some solace amid their grief. The community rallied around them, offering support and condolences as they began to process the tragic events. The trial of Bobby Dean Brewster began on July 10, 2018, at the Travis County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed with reporters from KFU, the Austin American-Statesman, and other media outlets. The community watched closely as the proceedings unfolded. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Sarah Binding, a 42-year-old with a reputation for being tough and tenacious. Binding laid out the case against Bobby Dean with meticulous detail. She presented the blood-stained glove, the partial fingerprint on the knife, and the DNA evidence linking Bobby Dean to the crime. She argued that Bobby Dean's jealousy and rage led him to murder his wife, Leah Brewster, in a fit of uncontrolled anger. On the defense side was attorney Michael Grove Basato, a 50-year-old known for his calm demeanor and persuasive arguments. Grove Basato contended that the evidence was circumstantial and that there was no clear motive for Bobby Dean to kill his wife. He tried to cast doubt on the reliability of the forensic evidence and suggested that someone else could have been responsible for Leah's death. Throughout the trial, Leah's family sat in the front row, their faces a mixture of sadness and determination. Her sister often wiped away tears as she listened to the testimonies and evidence presented. The community's support was palpable, with many residents showing up to the courthouse to stand by Leah's family. Caleb Brewster, now a college freshman, also attended the trial. He had to relive the painful memories of his mother's death and the shocking revelation of his father's affair with his teacher, Laura McMasters. Laura herself testified, admitting to the relationship with both Bobby Dean and Caleb but maintaining her innocence regarding the murder. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On July 25, 2018, they returned with a verdict. Bobby Dean Brewster was found guilty of second-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the verdict. Bobby Dean showed little emotion, staring straight ahead as his fate was sealed. The sentencing took place on August 1, 2018. The judge sentenced Bobby Dean to just 15 years in prison. The sentence was met with mixed reactions. Leah's family felt some relief that justice had been served, but the pain of losing Leah was still raw. Samantha expressed her hope that Bobby Dean would reflect on his actions and the damage he had caused. The community had a similar response. Some felt the sentence was too lenient, given the brutal nature of the crime. Others believed it was fair, considering Bobby Dean's previously clean record and the complex emotions involved. Bobby Dean's conviction and sentencing marked the end of a painful chapter for Leah's family and the Austin community. The trial had exposed deep wounds and secrets, but it also brought a measure of justice for Leah Brewster's untimely death. The family and community now faced the challenge of healing and moving forward from this tragedy. After the trial, life in Austin slowly returned to normal, but the impact of Leah Brewster's murder lingered. Leah's family, particularly her sister Samantha, faced daunting task of rebuilding their lives. Samantha became a vocal advocate for domestic violence awareness, partnering with local organizations like Safe Austin to educate others and provide support to victims. Caleb Brewster, deeply affected by the loss of his mother and the scandal surrounding his father's actions, struggled to find his footing. He decided to transfer to a college out of state, seeking a fresh start away from the painful memories. Caleb focused on his studies and continued to play college basketball, finding solace in the sport his mother had always supported him in. Laura McMasters continued her teaching position at Austin High School, despite the scandal tarnishing her reputation. She faced harsh judgment from the community. In fact, Laura won an award in 2020 for the success in teaching students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite her success as a teacher, the stigma of the affair and her involvement in the case continued to follow her. The Brewster home, once a symbol of a happy family, stood empty for several months before being sold. The new owners, aware of the tragic history, sought to bring new life to the house. They renovated and invited the community to a housewarming, symbolizing a fresh start and the healing power of community support. Bobby Dean Brewster, now serving his sentence, had time to reflect on his actions. The prison system offered counseling and rehabilitation programs, which he participated in, hoping to understand and atone for his crimes. His relationship with Caleb remained strained, but there was hope that time and reflection might lead to reconciliation. The trial and its aftermath had left an indelible mark on everyone involved. Leah Brewster's legacy lived on through the positive changes and awareness her tragic death inspired. The community of Austin learned to come together, supporting one another, and working towards a future where such tragedies could be prevented. Stay glued to this channel, like, comment, and share your thoughts on the story. Until next time, stay vigilant. True Crime Pulse, thank you.